as we go to the Chitas of today, holding in the portion of Eira, holding on chapter 19, verse number 21. Vayemer Elav, and he said to him, God said to Lot, In nasasi fanecha, I have showed favor, Gam ledavar hazeh, also for this matter, levilte hafachi esayir, that I'm not going to overturn the city, asher dibarta, which you have asked. God, she says, also in this matter too, not only will you'll be saved, but I'll also save the whole city for you, because of you. So it's going to be also for other people also will be saved because of you. Hafachi, Rashi says, Haifechani. Fachi means is one word that has really two words. You would write it out. Hafechani, me over to this is similar to ad boy before I came. So you have sometimes one word in Hebrew can mean two words. Hurry, escape there. Because I can't do anything. This is the Malach is saying. I'm sorry, the Malach is saying. The Malach says, go there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you come there. Therefore he called the city Tzayar. Tzayar again means small. Now she says, this admission, powerlessness, was the angel's punishment for saying, because we are about to destroy, which they said something which was wrong. It was a whole question, does angels have free choice? And here we see they had a little free choice, even angel, because he also created entity. And the angel, by mistake, slipped on a word. The angel said, I'm going to destroy it. Here he had to rectify his mistake. And he had to say, I can't do nothing. And they were actually acted themselves. Therefore, they did not leave there until they compelled to admit that the matter was not their own power. So they did shuvah. You find shuvah over here by an angel, repentance by an angel. Again, this is singular. Klei is singular. But here too, we learned that one angel was overturning Sodom. There was one angel to do the whole thing. And the other angel was to save Lot. For two angels are not sent for the same purpose. Al-Kain Kara Shema Yit Sayar, Al-Shem Mitzvah, because it was small. Hashem Meshach Al-Haaretz, and the sun who had already risen over the earth. The Lot bought Sarah, and Lot came to Tzayar. Verse 24, V'Hashem inted alas deiv al meir gafris va'esh, and God poured sulfur and fire rained down on Sodom. Ve'es Hashem and Hashemayim from the heaven. Now it says, wherever it says the word Yud-Kei Vav-Kei with additional Vav refers to God, V'Hashem, and God. So you have the Vav. Vav always in Hebrew is also. So what's the also over here? This is also the heavenly court, so to say. At dawn, as it says, the dawn was breaking. A time when the moon is in the sky together with the sun. Why? Because some of the people worship the sun and other people worship the moon. The Holy One, blessed be He, said, I'll punish them by day. The moon will worship. If I punish by day, the moon worshippers will say, if it would happen at night, the moon would protect them. If I destroyed them at night, they would say that the sun would protect them. Therefore, it happened exactly sunrise, right? Dawn, which the sun and the moon are both there. And now, God did His punishment. Himta gafris beish. Actually, at first it was rain, and then it turned into sulfur and fire. Because God always gives a chance for tshuva, a chance for people to rectify themselves. Meis Hashem. From God, it's typical for to tell the verses to speak in this way, as we find the wives of Avimelech, Nesheh Avimelech, and he did not say my wives. Similarly, King David says, take with you the servants of your master, and he didn't say my servants. And similar, Achashverosh says in the king's name, he didn't say in my name, because that's the way the scripture talks. in a third person. Min hashamayim, from out of the sky, as it says in the verse, for with the heavens he judges nations. Refers when God wishes to punish people, he brings upon them fire from the heaven, as he did by Sdom. And when he wishes to bring man from heaven, when he wishes to bring food from heaven, he says, I'm going to rain down bread for you from the sky. So whether it's good or whether it's bad, that's the expression, heaven. And he turned over the 4 cities. It's called Akika and the entire plain. It's called Yeshve Arim and all the inhabitants of the city. It's Semach Adama, the vegetation of the land. Ash says the 4 cities were situated on one rock, so to say, and he turned them upside down. As it said, he sent the hand against the rock and overturned the mountains by its roots. Verse 26, Vatabet Ishtay Me'achrov, and Lot's wife turned around, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Now she says his wife turned around, meaning from behind Lot. She gave a turn around to see what was happening. But she says, the melech, with salt, she sinned, so she was punished with salt. Lot had said to her, give a little salt to these guests. And she answered, even this evil practice you wish to institute in this place, you mean to give salt? We're not allowed to have guests. That's the rule of the city. You're not allowed to have any guests come to your house. And now you want to make sure that the food is tasty. I'm going to give them salt. So therefore, she turned into salt. Verse 27, Yashka Maramba Baker, Avram got up in the morning. Amakam Shalmat Shamas Pnei Hashem, to the place that he stood before God. Yashka up Pnei Zdeva murder, and he gazed upon Sdom and murder. I call Pnei Aretz Hakika and the entire plains. And he saw that there was a big smoke coming out, like the smoke that rises from a lime kiln. Ashes Kita is a pillar of smoke. Kivshan, a pit where stones are burned down into lime. And this is the meaning where the Kivshan is mentioned. And this is is meaning when it says Kivshan. It's not the first time, but whenever you see the word Kivshan, that's what it means. It's a place when they used to dig a hole and they used to burn these stones to turn it into lime, and that a smoke came out of this pit. And when God destroyed the cities and the plains, and God remembered Abraham. He sent Lot from the midst of evil. He saved him in his honor. The overturned towns in which Lot was living. Rashi says, what do you mean that God remembered Abraham? You see this connection between generations. You see, from the beginning of Avram Avinu, this Lot and Abraham. You should know there's very mystical things between these two people, Lot and Abraham. They were uncle and nephew, but as we learned before, Lot and Abraham looked like each other. And they were both successful, and they both were together in many things. Avram Avinu went out to fight for Lot. And here God saves Lot because of Avram Avinu. But here Rashi says the answer is that God remembered that Lot knew Sarah was Abraham's wife. And that he heard when Abraham said to Sarah in Egypt, she's my sister. Lot could have said something else. Lot did not reveal the matter because he was protecting Avram. So these two people, Lot and Avram Avinu, there was something that these two people had in common, and there was some connection between Avram and Lot. That's why from Lot comes out David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, etc. This connection later on, we're going to be with Lot. We're going to be with Lot. Yaakov Avinu goes on Lot. Vayah Lot Mitzayar. And Lot went out of Tzayar. Vayesha Bahar, and he lived in the mountain. Vayishtei b'neisav, that's all he had right now is 2 of his daughters. He was afraid even to go to Tzayar, the city. So he went into the mountain, into a cave. Yeshiv b'mara, and he lived in his cave. Who is B'nai? Now she says, why did he when you go to Tzayar even though the Malach said you can go to Tzayar? Because he felt it was too close to them. So they thought that the whole world was destroyed. So the older one said to the younger one, our father is old. And there's nobody else in the world. The world is destroyed. They felt they were like Noach. Who's going to populate the world? Avinu Zaken says, if not now, when? May die before it's unable to father children. So as Rashi said, they thought the whole world was destroyed as in the generation of the flood. Let us give our father some wine. And we'll sleep with him. And we'll have children from our father. And they gave their father to drink. And the older one came and slept with late. He didn't know. He was unaware. He was dead drunk. When he lay down with her, when he rose, he was sober. Rashi, he's translating Rashi. But when she arose, he knew enough to realize that it was she. Rashi says, where do they have wine in this suddenly wine? Rashi says, the Medrash says, wine was a nest happened that there was wine there. Maybe that's why they realized, what suddenly find in this cave wine? Appeared to them in a cave, so they might produce two nations. And she lay with her father, but by regarding the younger one, it's written, and she lay with him. It doesn't say with her father. Without explicitly mentioning her father, it's the next verse. Regarding the younger one, because she did not initiate this immorality, but her sister coached her. Torah covers up for her and does not explicitly mention her shame. This was a disgraceful act. But regarding the older one who initiated immorality, the verse exposes the act explicitly. Uvekuma, when she arose, this word is written in connection with the older daughter. And there's a dot in the hey. You see over here, there's a dot in the letter hey. You have a dot. When there's a dot is called a dagesh. A dagesh. Dagesh means at the Torah, that the pasuk, the sages want you to accentuate something over here. She went to sleep with her. There's a dot actually in both of the hays. He went to sleep with her, and they woke up with her. And the Torah, in essence, the pasuk, the sages want you should separate between the going to sleep and the waking up. So that's you'll see by the next one they don't put the dot. And so this is the words. I'm sorry, the dot on the letter. I'm sorry, dot on the letter vav. Sorry. Uvekuma, not the hey. Wrong word. So the vav to tell us that he did realize when she got up, but nevertheless was not on guard from drinking the following night. I believe he said, whoever is inflamed by forbidden sexual desire will eventually be fed with his own flesh. So that's to say that Lot was far from a tzaddik, and he didn't, not to blame it on his daughters, but he had himself, he knew exactly what's going on in a way, and he still went the second night to say L'chaim again. And then the next day, the elder one said to the young one, yesterday I slept with my father. Let's get him drunk tonight again. And go and sleep with him. And we'll have an offspring from our father. You should know that both of these people, again, they thought the world was over, and they meant it for a reason of that they would continue the world. Who they gave their father to drink again. And the younger one got up and slept with him. So you don't have the second vav over here. You see, Vakuma is missing a vav. So that's where you see the did. That's a previous Rashi. So in this one, Vakuma has a vav with a dot in it, and the one over here doesn't have a vav and a dot in it. So you see the previous Rashi, where Rashi says that he knew something happened the first night. And that's why the pasuk adds a vav and a dot to tell you that Noach, not Noach, Light knew what happened. And nevertheless, when he got up, he knew what happened. But he nevertheless, when they offered him a drink the second night, he said, yeah, let's go, let's party. Verse 10 or 36. And both of these girls conceived. Ashi says, although normally a woman does not become pregnant in a first relationship, it's not a usual thing to happen. These women manipulated themselves by removing the hymens. And they were virgins, and thus were able to become pregnant from the first relationship. They were committed to this process. They were. And the older daughter gave birth, and she called her son Moav, which means from my father. Who Avi Moav Avaye Mazed, he is the ancestor of Moav, which you call Moav in the Torah till today. Land of Moav. Now she says, this one was immodest, explicitly implied by the name that he was born from her father, Me'av. But the younger one, her name is a clean name. Glad he didn't call Noav, he called it she was rewarded for that. At the time of Moshe, it was regarding the Ammonites, did not provoke them in any fashion. Regarding Moav, it only warns them against waging war, but permits them to make them trouble. So, because she was so the older one was more immoral than the younger one. But ultimately, again, Moav, Rus HaMoaviyah. Rus comes from Moav, great granddaughter of Light, and the Murus is the grandmother of David HaMelech. Batzira gam yolda ben, atikishmai ben Ami, and she called him Ben Ami, son of my nation. Hu avi b'nei Ammon adayem hazeh, and he is the father of Ammon. You should know also that Shlomo Melech married Ammon, a daughter of Ammon. So David HaMelech comes from Moav. Shlomo Melech, many of the kings of Shlomo Melech, the kings that came out of Shlomo Melech came out of a wife from an Ammonite. So Light is connected both to David HaMelech and to Shlomo HaMelech. Both of them are connected, and ultimately the offsprings of David HaMelech, Yecheskel, and all the kings that came out of Shlomo HaMelech came out of his wife, who was an Ammoni. So here we have that both Light is connected ultimately to David HaMelech and to Shlomo HaMelech, and ultimately to Mashiach, who comes out of the seeds of David and Shlomo HaMelech, and that's where Light is. That's you have the whole pasuk over here. Understand this whole concept. So even though we know that the Torah later prohibits a Jew from marrying an Ammonite and a Moabite, but that was the men. The Gemara they learned the time of Boaz. It meant the men and not the women, and therefore Rus, who was a Moabite, was converted, and she got married to Boaz, and she was ultimately the grandmother of David HaMelech, King David, and who had a son Shlomo HaMelech, and then Shlomo HaMelech married a Ammonite, which was again a great granddaughter of Light, and from him comes out all the kings of Israel that followed him, and ultimately Mashiach follows him. You should realize also the Rebbe's father writes, it says Light, the word Light, Lamed Vav Tes, equals up to 45, and the word Adam equals up to 45. Adam is man. And Adam, the word Adam stands for Aleph is Avram, Dalet is David, and Mem is Mashiach. So the whole situation when Avram David, and Mashiach are all connected to light. They all ultimately come. There's a connection between Avram and light to the whole history of the Jewish nation. Chapter 20, verse number 1. Vayisa Misham Avram, and Avram Avinu traveled outside Negev. He traveled to the south. Vayeshev ben Kadesh ben Shur, and he settled between Kadesh and Shur. Vayaga beGerar, and he lived in Gerar. This Gerar, he lived in, that's the Philistine city of Gerar. This is Gaza. This is a Gaza. Gerar. Rashi says, when he saw the cities had been destroyed, the way and what happens when he was near the city of Zdaim. So now, with no people traveling, nobody was going to travel in a destroyed area. So no longer he traveled he moved away. Another explanation, traveled away in order to distance himself from light. Who had fallen into this dispute for having a relationship with daughter. Light became disgraced. And right, because everybody found out that his daughters, ultimately people found out that his daughters, he had 2 children from his daughters, which even the nations of the world didn't accept this kind of a situation. Whenever he came to a city, he would always say that this is my sister. He didn't stop saying that. And he came to the Philistines, which is again in Gaza, the place of Gaza today. So Avimelech, the king of Gerar, sent out and he said, okay, your sister, this beautiful woman in the city, I'm going to marry her. Just like what happened in Egypt. So Rashi says he did not even ask her permission to say that his sister, but did it against her will, without her consent, which he understood would be not forthcoming. She had already once been taken to Pharaoh's house. This was Vayomer. That's the expression Vayomer. He said, the previous time he said to his wife first, please let me do this. Over here, seemingly he just said, El Sarah Ishtay, to Sarah, his wife, means about his Sarah's wife. That's the expression El means about. Verse number 3, God came to Avimelech in a dream. You're going to die because you took this woman, and she's a married woman. So you have no right to take her. Avimelech had no relationship with her. So in his dream, he said to God, you're going to kill the righteous and the wicked. Actually, not that he didn't want to touch her. The angel prevented him. That's the point. Like, don't make him such a tzaddik. The Medrash says actually he did, but he wanted to, but he didn't have a chance. Agoyim tzaddik tarig. Would you put a nation to death even if it's innocent? Perhaps your way of destroying nations without cause. This is what you did to the generation of flood, the generation of dispersion. I too claim that you killed them for nothing, thus as you wish to kill me. This guy said to him, he's a sister. And she herself said, he's my brother. So here we see Sarah ultimately went along with the game. With an innocent heart, with a kiyam kape, with their blameless hands. So you can't blame me because I basically did. I can marry as many women as I want. So what did I do wrong? Now she says, Gam who, she herself also, in addition to her Gam, he comes to include her servants. That means everybody I asked, they all said the same thing. Everybody. Her, Gamhi, also her, everybody I asked, they said, oh, it's a sister, no problem, it's a sister. I asked them all, and they said it's a brother and it's a sister, they're not married. B'tayim levavi, innocent heart, I did not intend to sin. I'm entitled. This was not against anybody's will. With King Kapi, I cleared from sin because I did not touch her. So therefore, nothing happened. And I have no sin in this matter. So God said to him in his dream, I know that. You did it with an innocent heart. For I have also spared you from sinning against me, and if I made the malach not let you have a relationship. If I didn't allow you to touch her. Now she says, it's true that initially you did not intend to sin. You can't claim to have blameless hands, meaning to say that you would have potentially handled Sarah. I'm sure you're not such a tzaddik, and even if you would ultimately know, I know you don't have to sell yourself to me. So I know that it wouldn't make a difference to you that much if it was his wife, if it was his sister. So don't come to me and give me this Baba Maisa, because if it wasn't for me not allowing you to touch her, you would have touched her, whether it was a wife or it was a sister. So when we say in Yiddish, Denish gekap, haknish ketchainik, it's not for your own will that you did not touch her, but it was I, so to say, who spared you from sinning and not giving into the ability to do so. So therefore, don't tell me this. But okay. Now return this man's wife. Do not be afraid, because he's a prophet. He knows you didn't touch her either. And therefore pray for you. And you will live. But if you're going to decide not to return her, know that you will die. You and everything that you have will all perish. So therefore, return her ASAP. Do not think that she may become disgraced in his eyes, and will not accept her back, or that it will hate you and not pray for you. Avimelech said to him, who will inform him that I did not touch her? He replied, Kinavu. He's a prophet. He knows exactly what's happening. He knows exactly what's happening. And they did not touch it. Therefore, he'll pray for you. Yashkem Avimelech got up early. He called all his servants. He told them about his dream. Was name in their ears. The men and people got frightened because they realized what was going on. Avimelech summoned Abraham. Said to him, why have you done this to him? What have I done against you? You brought upon me and my nation a great sin. Things that shouldn't be done. Asisi muddy, you did with me. Now she says what happened was, why did the people all got afraid? Because everybody got sick that night. A plague that did not usually occur amongst any beings that befallen us through you. Everybody got sick. This refers to the closing of human orifices. Nobody could have had to do anything that night. Those of semen, urine, and excrement and pasha everybody had constipation the whole night in all the situations. And even their ears and nose, they had a total blockage of the whole body. And that's why everybody in the whole house of Avimelech were totally frightened of this situation. What's going to happen? So tell me, why did you say to say this thing? You could have said it to your wife. Why'd you say it to your sister? As I said to myself, there's simply no fear of God in this place. And you will kill me. So you're not going to be don't become so holy. You would kill me and take my wife. I had no choice. Now she says, a guest arrives in the city, does not ask him about his requirements of food and drink, but does not ask him about his wife. Is she your wife or your sister? When I came to a city, what do you ask me first? Can I host you? Do you need a place to sleep? What was the first question I'm asked when I come to the city? Who is this girl? That's the first question you ask when I come to a city. Everybody's asking me about my wife. Who is she? That shows what kind of city I'm coming to. So therefore, I got the message. They didn't care about me if I ate something, if I need to sit someplace down, do I need a hotel? No, they were worried. Everybody was worried about this woman, my wife. And therefore, I realized this is an immoral place, and I had no choice. And the truth is, v'gam omna chesi bas avi he, and the truth is, she's really my sister. We want to get technical. She's. I'm not saying even a lie. Bas avi he. She's a daughter of my father. She's a sister through my father. Achloi bas imi. She's not the sister from my mother. Ati lilisha. She became my. She's like. She's not my sister, technically, from my father and mother. But my father. She's technically a sister from my mother. So Rashi says a father's daughter is permitted to a descendant Noach to marry to a half sister, in essence, since the parent relation is not considered a relationship for Gentiles. So the fathers, say if it's not the same mother, but it comes the same father, by the Bnei Noach, not today, I don't believe today, but in those days, the Bnei Noach had by a Jew, he's not allowed to marry his half sister, whether it's from his father or his mother, since the bad relationship is not considered a relationship to Gentiles. So to uphold his original statement that she was a sister, he answered them in this way: if you ask, was she not her brother's daughter? But it's not even her father's daughter; it's a brother. It's his brother's daughter. It's his niece. So it's not really his father's daughter. And not his father. So what is he saying? It's not his father's daughter. It's Haran's daughter. Sarah was Haran's daughter. Haran was Avram Avinu's brother. I answer you, grandchildren are children. So he said, my niece is like my sister. And thus she was considered a daughter to Terach. Abraham, similarly, Avram said to Lot, we are brothers. Even though Lot was his brother's son, but he considered Lot his brother. Why? Because to Terach, Lot was a grandchild. So a grandchild is like a child. That's what Avram says. If you want to get technical, I consider Sarah my sister. Because to my father, it was a daughter. So if to my father it was a daughter, so she's my sister. Achlei Basimi. So now she says, because Sarah came from Haran. Haran, her father, was born a different mother than Avram Avinu. So Terach had different wives. And Avram Avinu came from one wife, and Haran, his brother, came from another wife. And so they had the same father, Terach, but different wives. But nevertheless, to Terach, it was a daughter. And therefore, Avram Avinu said, if you want to get technical, I think that I consider her my sister. And that's why I consider Lot my brother. Because even though my Lot and Sarah, both nephews and nieces, but I consider them my brother. When the Eibushter God made me wander from my father's home, but I made a deal with my wife that wherever I go, you'll do kindness to me. Wherever we come to a place, there's immoral people. Amali Achi, say always you're my brother. So like this, we won't have an issue with a life and death issue. Because if you say my wife, so they'll kill me. And like this, say my sister, we'll have to, negotiate something. Now she says, this uncleist translates this verse in his own way of translation. That's just to go. Onkelos was the one who wrote the Chumash in Aramaic. It's in every Chumash. Onkelos was also a ger, a convert, who wrote the entire Chumash in Aramaic, and it's part of every printed Chumash. Onkelos. So Onkelos is not only a word-for-word translation; it's a interpretation. There's an interpretation of Onkelos. So Onkelos is like a Rashi, really, and that's why Rashi sometimes agrees with Onkelos and sometimes disagrees with Onkelos. But both of them are giving interpretation to the verse. So again, Rashi brings down Onkelos many, many times. As if you learn Chumash and Rashi, you'll see Onkelos mentioned many, many times. So Onkelos' translation of this verse, the way of he translating it, when the nation strayed after idol worship, God brought me close to his service and to the Father's house. That's the way Unklish says. You see, when the Eibishter took me away from the way the nations of the world worship, I went in a different path. But it can explain in another way, Rashi says, fitting each word in the verse in a proper setting. So Rashi says, I'm not so happy with Unklish translation. The Holy One, blessed be, took me out of my father's house to wander and move about from place to place. I knew that I would have passed through places of wicked people. And that's the simple meaning of the verse. Therefore, I said, this is a favor. And you can translate this verse by It's an interesting word, Hisu. Also, you should realize this is a plural form. They made me wander. But do not be surprised at this, because when they made, who's they? Now, many places, the term referring to God or to authority are expressed in a plural form. And here Rashi goes and shows many places where when it talks about the Eibishter, it doesn't always say it in a singular. It says it in a plural. Immediately, Rashi says, say to me. Also, it doesn't mean say to me. I don't need you to tell me anything. It means say about me. That's even though the simple translation, Imru li, say to me, doesn't mean to me. It means about me. Similarly, when local people ask li ishtai about his wife, not to his wife, but about his wife. Similarly, Paro says when it's the Libnei Yisrael, about the Jewish people. So you see that the word lamed, li, doesn't mean per se to me. It means about me. And that's how you have to translate. Imru li, say about me. Because if you translate it in a simple way, say to me, that doesn't make any sense. That Abraham says to Sarah, say to me, you're my brother. Doesn't make sense. And that's why when it says Imru li, it means about me. So Melech took a lot of flocks and cattle, avodim, and servants, shvaches, bondwomen, Avram, and he said, okay, here I need you to pray for me. I need you to pray for me. So therefore, here I'm going to give you presents. Yashav, and here's back your wife. She says so that he would placate him, and he would pray for him. That he wanted to appease him, and that he would pray for him. And then Avimelech said, you can live wherever you want. This land is open to you. Settle wherever you want in this area. Not just, but by Paro, he said to him, please take your wife and get out of here. Because he was afraid to start her safely because the Egyptians were steeped in immorality. So he said, the best thing, Abraham, is to get out of Egypt. Go back, don't stay here. But Avimelech said, stay whatever you want. Then he turned to Sarah. He said, I've given your brother 1,000 pieces of gold. Let this gift serve as the cover over the eyes of all those with you. That's called who would look askance to you because of this incident, preventing them from doing so. For anyone who may in the future cast aspersions on your behavior in this episode will be serve as a proof to your innocence. Now she says, Avimelech said out of respect to her, in order to appease her, I've indeed shown you this mark of respect, that I've given money to your brother, and meaning the one who said he is my brother. This money and honor will serve as a cover over the eyes of those with you. What does it mean? Of all those with you, it means it will cover their eyes so they will not treat you lightly. For if I would have returned you empty-handed, they could have said, after you abused her, you returned her. Now that I'm obligated to spend much money and to appease you, they will now know that I returned you against my will, forced to do so by a miracle. This all happened because I need to have prayers. I need you to pray for me. I'm sick, and my whole family is sick. So this will prove this issue. Because I'm a king. I don't have to give you a thing. Amongst all people in the world. The Chachas, you will thereby have an opportunity to prove your case and to point out the obvious fact The word Eichacha, wherever it appears, means clarifying the matter. Onkelos translates the verse in a different manner. And according to his translation, the verse reads as follows. It is to act for you as a garment of honor on account of my eyes, having gazed upon you and upon everything with you. That's the point. So he said, basically, I'm going to, that this story happened, I'm going to give you all these gifts for that I had the merit to even look upon you. He therefore translated as follows: I saw you and everyone with you. And then Rashi ends off. There are Agadic explanations. There are many interpretations in this verse. Go to the Agada, go to Medrash Rabbah, and your eyes will open up. But I've explained you the way that fits into the words of the verse. As Rashi says, I only come to explain the verse, how to put it into the verse. And Abraham prayed to God. And God healed Avimelech, his wives, his bondswoman, and they all relieved themselves. They all were healed. Now she says, the Onkelos translates, and they had a relief, meaning their offices be opened, and release whatever needed to be released. This is the word. This is their birth. That's why Ve'eleidu means their birth. That's why you say every day when you go to the restroom, as a bracha, you thank God that everything works, and everything goes. Everything is if God would close Chas v'Shalom one entity, or what kind of tzaras Chas v'Shalom you would have. So we should realize that the tzaras that these people were going through at that time, and the prayers that they needed, that they would be able to again function as human beings. Because God had blocked every orifice of the members of the whole household of Avimelech on the account of Abraham's wife Sarah. Actually, kol rechem over here doesn't mean the womb; it means the opening of every orifices of the body. By the word of Sarah. Chapter 21, verse number 1. Hashem poked Sarah. God remembers Sarah kasher, what he said. Ayas Hashem leSarah kasher magdiber, and God did to Sarah what he said, to have a child. What's the connection between these two portions? This passage placed next to the previous one teaches us that a person who pleads mercy upon another person, he himself in his need, and the same thing is answered first. So Avram Avinu prayed for Avimelech and his family that everything should open up. So now he was answered. Where it says Avram Avinu prayed, and it follows, and God remembers Sarah. So that's why it's important to pray for somebody else. Because if you pray for somebody else, you will be answered. He also is taken account of before he cured Avimelech. Hakad Sarah be'eroin, she became pregnant. Hashadibar, as he has spoken regarding the birth of the son. And here God says, saying Amira, where he's speaking Dibber regarding these matters. He's saying, refers to God said, Vayomer, Sarah will indeed bear a son. His speaking refers to God's word came to Abraham at the pass of the covenant of the separation of the pieces, where it says, this person will not be your heir, rather one born out of your flesh and your own son. So that's the Vayomer. Ashi is saying that there's two expressions over here, Omar and Vayomer and Diber, what he said and what he spoke. And we find the saying to Sarah, and we find the speaking to Abraham. Ayas Hashem l'Sarah k'diber, and God did to Sarah as he had spoken to Avram. The Diber is to Avram. Avram ben, and she conceived, and she had a son for Abraham, l'skunov to his old age. The appointed time which God has said. Now she says, Rabbi Yudin and Rabbi Chama differ to when the time was. Rabbi Yudin said that we learned from here that he was born 9 months of pregnancy, so that people would not say that he was conceived from Avimelech. And Rabbi Chamer said he was born to the 7 months. And that's why we have later on that the Torah tells us in next week's portion that Avram and Yitzchak look like each other, because some people were saying that, oh, suddenly she had a child, maybe it's from Avimelech, and therefore they look like one another. But according to Rabbi Yudin, this happened 9 months later, which couldn't have been from Avimelech. Means that the facial features that Miller in his old age, it means that his facial features were similar to Avraham Avinu. Uncle's chance of the Malilasi, of which God has spoken, referring to designated time that he spoke to fix. When he told him, I will return to you in a designated time, he scratched a mark, so to say, on the wall and said to him, when the sun ray reaches this mark next year, you're gonna have a child. And Avram called the son which he had with Sarah, he called him Yitzchak, Isaac. Avram is Yitzbenai. Avram is circumcised his son, and Shmeinas Yamin to 8 years old, which God commanded him to circumcise at 8 days old. And that completes the Chumash for today. Okay, we continue the 27th letter of the Alter Rebbe in Tanya. So the 27th letter that we continue is the letter again about what the Alter Rebbe talks about, the concept of the passing of a tzaddik and the life that he leaves in the world. So be it on this an elucidation of the above, that Alter Rebbe provides a deep understanding of the above understanding of the above letter. It says in the Zohar, tzaddik and dispata. When a tzaddik departs, he's found in all worlds more than during his lifetime. So that's what the Zohar writes. We have to understand. I can understand in the upper worlds. I understand. Tzaddik, his neshama, this righteous man, when he passes away, his neshama goes above. So now, when the neshama goes above, so he's felt in the upper worlds. Well, very good. But how is it possible that the Zohar should say that he's actually found in this world? Yatir more. He's not here. So the Alter Rebbe again goes back. This may be explained again along the lines of the teaching which I received concerning the statement of the sages, the Shavek Chayin L'chol Chayin. So that on the right day, right? Yep. That he gives life to all living. As mentioned above, the expression is problematic. Surely he not left anyone life, which is not their own life. Alter Rebbe will explain the sense is truly said the departed child left his surviving disciples something of his own life. No, the life of a tzaddik is not fleshly life, but the spiritual life. Which consists of faith, awe, and love. These he possessed not only for himself, but transmits to anyone who wants to connect to him. As the Torah says, we find the faith, awe, and love are termed life. When it comes to faith, it says the tzaddik lives with faith. When it comes to fear, it's written, and the awe of God is life. Whoever pursues tzedakah and chesed finds life. The chesed u'ava, and chesed is love. Hence, when the term life is used to describe chesed, kindness, it applies to love as well. To sum up, faith in God, the awe and the love of Him are thus all referred to as life. So what is life? And the truth is that's what the tzaddik, that is what the tzaddik, a righteous man or woman teaches us. That's what Avram Avinu taught us. That's what Avram, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, all these people teach us these things. That true life is not physical gain, material advancement. True life is love of God, fear of God, and faith in God. And all these three things, Emunah, Chesed, Yira, all these three things, faith, love of God, honor of God, all are on all levels. All levels. Everybody, every person, not only in the upper worlds, but up in the lower worlds, every human being has their own concept of what emunah is, what faith is, what is love of God, and what is their fear of God. So it goes all according to the levels of the world. One higher than the other by the way of cause and effect as it's known. So therefore, this concept that tzaddik lives in all the worlds and ultimately in this world. So at any level, the worlds serve as a cause, and the lesser world serves an effect in which it brings it into about. So this is basically the also you can explain this concept in the concept of where Kabbalah explains the concept of a human being is intellect and his emotions. You've been learning this over and over again, that the human being is divided basically between intellect and emotion. So your intellect needs to go above itself, emunah, faith. That's chachma. That's what we learned. Chachma is kayachma. Wisdom is above, is truly above. Anybody who says I acquired wisdom doesn't know what wisdom is. And then your two emotions, ava and yira, love, fear. It's all about those three things in your life. Your emunah Hashem, your understanding of God, your faith in God, that's life. Your love of God, that is considered life. And your fear of your awness in God, that is considered life. And that is complete the Tanya spiritual teaching for today. Today is the 14th day of the month, which is the chapters of Tehillim is chapter 72 to chapter 76. You do those chapters of Psalms, you do the chitas of the day. So now we go to the Yom of the day, the 14th of Cheshvan. From God, there's a verse. The verse says, Hashem mitzadei gavar keinane. From God are man's steps established. That's the meaning of the verse. From God are man's steps established. What does that mean? Every one of Israel has a spiritual mission in life, which is to occupy himself with the work of construction, to make a dwelling place for God in this world. That's your mission. Everyone has the same mission. The mission is to bring God into the world. Everyone, regardless of a station or location, must through an exhaustive search seek out spiritual livelihood, not only physical livelihood. He needs to speak out his spiritual livelihood with all the intents of his strength. Just as he seeks material livelihood, he needs to seek out his spiritual mission. What is my spiritual mission in this world? This is because, as the above verse concludes, he desires his God's ways. What does that mean? As it's written by Avram Avinu, for I know and I love him because they will keep the ways of God. The ways of HaKadosh Baruch. That's why I mentioned halacha is called ways. Jewish law is called ways of God. the way of nature and the way that transcends nature. God created the universe in such a way that in man's eyes it appears to follow a set pattern of nature. This is the way of Elohim. The name of God, Elohim, which is the numerical value of nature. Torah and mitzvahs, but a Jew is connected to Torah. He's connected to the mitzvahs of God. That's the way of Havaya, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei Havaya, the tetragram of God's name, that is drawing that which is transcended nature into nature. We as humans, as Jews, have the capability to bring about a revelation of above nature within nature, to show that everything, even nature, is something that transcends, comes from God. Drawing that which transcends nature into nature. By virtue of this conduct, God endows Israel from that which is beyond nature into the natural. So we do our job by making a place for God, for above nature, and God will deal with Jews in above nature within nature. That's kamayim haponim el haponim, that the face, water reveal the face-to-face relationship. We serve God in this natural world in an above natural way. God treats us also in an above natural way within this natural world. God bless you all. And in Me'ed Shem, the help of God, we'll see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. We'll continue the Chitas.